It's the Exit 52 podcast, Sunday, December 14th. We are brought to you by Jimmy's Famous Seafood. My name is Jake Louque, and I'm joined on my screen by Mr. Brian Black. How are we doing tonight, my good friend?
We're doing as good as maybe we have in a while. Although we're still kind of playing from behind in terms of the playoff race and everything, that was as satisfying a win as I feel like I can think of this season, given some of the context and the dominance that they showed in doing it. Didn't think they had a shutout in the bag at any point against any team this season, much less against the Bengals. So to put them in the dirt and bury them feels pretty good.
Yeah, it does. So there's your headline: Ravens shutout Bengals 24-0. And yeah, I think their most complete football game of the season. I think Harbaugh said something to that effect in his post-game press conference. They get their way back to 7-7. They push the Bengals down to 4-10 and officially eliminate them from playoff contention. So a lot to break down here from the macro perspective, especially with the Ravens keeping hope alive, keeping themselves alive. They still, I think they noted on the broadcast, control their own destiny if they go ahead and win out here against New England, Green Bay, and Pittsburgh. So, it's still all right in front of them, as we've been saying. I think you watch a game like this and it does make you think about maybe some missed opportunities in the last 2 weeks, particularly against this Bengals team that, my God, man, they looked like they had nothing. They looked like they did not want to be out there. I had this from Draymond Jones, who, as Spenny's joining us here, I had this from Draymond Jones, who really summed up like what it kind of looked like to me.
We didn't really discuss the fact like they have 0 points. Let's keep. I think we just wanted to attack. We knew we had them on their heels, just by how they were calling it, how they looked, their demeanor, and they didn't feel lively to me. And I feel like we just wanted to attack them. I thought we did that.
Sorry, Draymond. When did you sense that? Early in the game?
I felt that play one that they weren't ready to play. It was too cold for them.
From play one, they were not ready to play. It was too cold for them. Quite a statement, and I think it all pretty much shows up there in evidence. If we were in the courtroom here, Spenny, I'm sure you that gets you all tingly inside hearing that.
Yeah, it does. The Bengals were confused. They were checking the ball down. They were lifeless. They were a fish out of water for the majority of this game, and they didn't have any real eureka moments. They do have tipped interception and converted some first downs, things like that. But what moment do you point to where it felt like there was some big flush of energy? I mean, Burrow rolled out and found Chase early in the second half, and he runs up the sideline a bit, but that still didn't feel like some sort of breakthrough moment for the Bengals overall. And the Ravens, I think, kind of held them down and dangled loogies over their faces, especially on the defensive side of the football. The pass rush, the stunts, the hounding of Joe Burrow. I mean, when you go rewatch the flying Hawaiian Big Island breakaway, as I'm calling it, Tavius Robinson runs down Joe Burrow's face and he just panics and yucks the ball up. Like, it was nothing. There was nobody there. It wasn't like anything within the play. I thought Burrow was just horrible. And I know there's been some comments from the locker room, and from Burrow himself. And I don't know, maybe I think we said it on the preview, Jake, you don't know, maybe someone in his family's sick. I don't know. He doesn't seem right. I definitely, I have the tinfoil here if needed, but I don't think he wants to be there, but it could also be something personal. So hope everything's all right for the guy, but he played like shit. Joe Burrow played like shit. He didn't want to be out there. And I know it was funny to a couple of my friends I was texting and myself, like Lamar had the 2 gloves on. Everybody was like, oh God, what is that going to look like? And then he took the glove off, and Burrow looked like the one that needed gloves. They genuinely didn't want to be there. And I think that Bills loss last week was just dejecting for them. The media was singing their praises. Burrow comes back. All they have to do is run the table, and they go 1-2. They won 1 game. Media's like, oh, Bengals could win the division if they just run the table. And it's like they won 1 game and now they're eliminated.
Yeah, I know. There's a lot of wish casting that I think, as we I love that you mentioned the Lamar with the 2 gloves here. Greatest point that Eric has probably ever made. Lamar wears a parka and a shiesty when it's 55 degrees out there, and then he goes out there today sleeveless. Just the funniest athlete of all time. He'll never be topped. But yeah, you made a good point there. There's, I think, a lot of wish casting that goes into wanting Joe Burrow more than anything to be in the conversation as a potential Super Bowl winning quarterback. I think, like, in anyone's eyes, he'll still very much be in that top 4, top 5 situation, compared to the other, top guys that we're talking about. But this will be a second year in a row of him not making the playoffs. And I don't know, Brian, it is starting to feel like, I don't know if I'm all the way there with Spenny as far as him like getting traded to the Vikings or something like that, but it just feels like things are as low as they've been in the Joe Burrow era for Cincinnati.
Yeah, I'm kind of with Spencer a little bit. Like, I don't know that that's where they're at in terms of their relationship over there in Cincinnati, but something's kind of got to give. Like, he's got to get into that mindset that I'm not going to accomplish the things that I probably deserve to accomplish in this life if I don't get somewhere else. I mean, he's doomed to be the next. Well, I guess he went to a Super Bowl, so he can't be the next Mike Trout. But like, he's just going to go nowhere fast if his entire career is spent in Cincinnati.
The next Carson Palmer.
The poverty franchise. They proved that through and through before the game even started. The fans come in the stadium and they don't even shovel out the seats or whatever. It's they're a joke. I feel almost bad for some of the guys over there that are kind of stuck in that situation. But they got their asses handed to them today. No other way to put it. I think the defense, like, not just getting in his face, but I think they covered deep extremely well and forced him to take nothing but the checkdowns. And, sometimes that's still a formula that can get you hurt, but we tackle like motherfuckers out there in the flats. I thought we were awesome in open field tackling. I thought we were super tight on things like special teams. Like, we just played a really comprehensive game outside of take away the drops. And I think we played just a really sound football game.
Yeah, no. 3 sacks by the defense today, by the way, which felt pretty good to see. We had, I think it was Tavius Robinson, who had one, and then Mike Green had one as well. So they were kind of trading back and forth as far as who's the team leader right now. I think Robinson 3, Mike Green 3.5. But yeah, they were in his face all day. They had a couple of hits that maybe you could have even called late a little bit, but I'm thankful they didn't. It felt like kind of just football plays to me. Broadcast was bringing it up and all of that. But Taylor, as you join us, first kind of impressions from this one. How'd you think about the Ravens keeping hope alive?
Yeah, I thought it was a super professional performance by them. Really kind of in all facets. Just something that we haven't seen a ton of this year in terms of being pretty tidy across the board. Obviously, in a football game, you're going to make mistakes and have some things that makes it not an 100% a perfect game. But obviously, the storyline is defensively how good they were. And I don't care what state the Bengals are in. It's still Burrow. It's still Chase. We've still seen it so many times with their ability to kind of get it done down the field. And the Ravens did a great job just keeping everything in front of them for the majority of the game. And you kind of go back to that like first sequence of punting, and then the Bengals sort of get down there and move it a little bit, and the Ravens end up making the play to force the punt, and that kind of set the tone defensively for the Ravens for the remainder of the game. The freaking interception return was sweet. I think we sent like 10 texts about that, how sweet it was. That was a nice icing on the cake. But I was just very impressed by coming off of how devastating of a loss last week was. I thought they responded really well. I thought this was the best mental toughness moment of the season for the Ravens, to just come back, go on the road. It's freezing. I mean, the weather conditions there, what they're describing them in Chicago right now, and it's a different type of cold. I mean, it's so cold. That's why I have Taylor as cold, because I'm freezing and I'm inside. But Banks will experience that when he goes to Wisconsin. It'll probably be worse in a couple weeks. But yeah, just professional. The word professional. As I was watching the game, I was like, this is just a professional performance. This is not, our hair's not on fire. We're keeping it together. Yes, you have the tip drill interceptions. Zay's got to catch that ball. And different things like that. But I just was, and the defense led the show today, which was awesome. Zach Orr must have felt great on the plane home. Like, he must have been ecstatic, because, in the same breath we talk about John Harbaugh's job, I think the Zach Orr conversation comes right after that. And I thought his unit was super put together against a team that, with Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase, finds a way to move the ball against pretty much everybody. And they did not today. And the Ravens tightened up what they needed to when those drives occurred. So all in all, nothing to complain about. Ravens win. Pete Alonso signing. nice positive week to be a Baltimore sports fan. I've quite enjoyed it. And the Ravens, as you said, Jake, still alive. And you put your Dolphins gear on tonight and hope they get it done. And you're kind of back right to where you were, and hope to get it done over the next few weeks. But yeah, professional is the word that kept coming to mind.
I love the point there about mental toughness. That is why I picked them to lose in this spot and why I picked them to lose last week. It just felt like a team that had been kind of mentally broken a little bit. I felt like things were kind of, showing in that way where guys just, I'm certainly no Bill Simmons professional body language reader, but I try to be sometimes. And it just, it felt like they were kind of throwing in the towel a little bit. That's probably an unfair way of phrasing it. But I don't know, man. It looked like they got their hunger back. And then you get, I think Josh Tolentino I think he's with the Sun, maybe tweeted out that locker room was as loud as it had been all season. And then we also had Lamar, who I made the point about him being funny. Fun little story from him here about how and why he knew this was going to be a good day for him and the team.
Got in a little later than usual. I feel like every time I've been late, we don't have good games. So. I was late to the airport. I got pulled over, so I'm gonna start with that. I believe it's true though. So I felt like when I was late to the airport, I haven't been late this year. So when I was late to the airport, I felt like it was gonna be a good game. I didn't want to tell them that though, but cat's out of the bag now.
Why were you late?
It was traffic. It was traffic.
How late were you?
Probably 15 minutes, but that's late.
Did they hold it?
Spenny late to the airport traffic. You got to assume that, Army Navy was a factor in that, whatever the hell was going on. But it's funny that that's his premonition for why it's going to be a great game. But it felt like good vibes going into it, good vibes coming out of it. And I am definitely feeling a little bit better about this team after today. I know you definitely saw this win coming a mile away.
Yeah, I will get the tinfoil hat out probably again this week, but knew the Ravens were going to win this one. It just felt like a dejecting loss, like I said, for the Bills. And I think the best takeaway that I have from that Lamar Jackson clip is that he was having fun and he was happy and he was smiling with the press and acting like it was 2024, 2023. Fun. It was fun. Joe Burrow's talking about not having fun. I think Lamar Jackson had some fun. And the 2-minute drill they had at the end of the first half, Bengals obviously had a chance to go double up there. The Ravens get off the field, get a punt. Ravens drive the length of the field. He throws premonition to the wind and yucks a ball to Zay Flowers, who makes a nice play on it, found that gap and trusted that he could go make that play. And it's definitely become a very Zay-focused pass attack. His target share is absurd, and he's made some plays. We can get into him specifically, but overall, I think nice to see Lamar having fun, scrambling for first downs, and all of those were huge positives. And there's been a lot of media whispers about how, he could have practiced on Wednesday, and the team's pissed that he's not practiced, blah, blah. I don't really care, man. He's in year 8 with the same team at the same place. He's been beat up. I don't care about him practicing. And it was funny because he actually had a lot of comments about how great of a week of practice that the Ravens had.
A lot of guys were saying that. Marlon said yesterday that he was tired leaving that practice, which is like not a thing that happens a lot. I think he credited Ed Reed's presence for firing him up a little bit and motivating him, which I know.
Great Friday practice that made him sore the next day.
Yeah,
and so I just found that all ironic. He's late to the airport. He, maybe he could have practiced on Wednesday. The guy's Booby Miles, man. What Lamar Jackson has is God-given in many ways, and he has put in the reps. He's done his 10,000 hours, and I'm sure Carson Wentz is there at 5 a.m. on Wednesday and practicing his hardest and all that shit. And Lamar's been beat up. Like, he's been going to practice the last couple of years. It's not like there's some trend over the last 3 years since he got paid where he's not practicing and blah, blah, blah. So I don't know. I think media guys, the beat guys always are like, this is what it takes to win a Super. And they just, they don't know. They know based off of stories and things that they've seen and whatever. And guys do it different ways. So just happy to see Lamar being happy again, having fun again. And most importantly, making plays again. That's what I'm happiest about. Making plays with his legs, chucking the ball downfield, taking some sacks. Like, hey, they got sacked a couple times. Hey, maybe they should have ran the ball even more. I think they actually had 20 dropbacks, and maybe it should have been 15. And again, me with Lamar Jackson throwing 15 passes, the white boy in his 30s saying run the football, but for the 15th consecutive episode. But they, had a bad sequence where they threw the ball 3 times and it was pretty much 3 sacks. He was able to kind of flip the ball out on one. So I like all those things. I like that they attacked. I love the 2-minute drill. I love some of the precision that we saw in the quick passing game, the RPO to DeAndre Hopkins, checking the ball out, quick little check into a pass play, clear out, recognizing there's no one on that side of the field, getting it to Rasheen Ali. And Harbaugh was quick. And I think Lamar himself was quick to point out, hey, Lamar checked into that play. So fan that fire, fan those flames. Love to hear Lamar talking about, it sounds like he's excited to practice again. That's what that sounded like. Hey, I'm excited to have good practices is kind of the read I got off of his press conference. And that's cool. That's fun. They whipped the Bengals' ass. And the last thing I'll say before I pass it off, though, like Kyle Hamilton leading the DBs out of the tunnel, like, hey, let's go end their fucking season, is what Kyle Hamilton said. And they did. The Ravens put the Bengals into the long sleep of winter. It's going to be a long, long, long winter in Cincinnati. There's nothing to play for in week 16, 17, or 18 before frustration probably mounts into, I would imagine, Zach Taylor being fired and a lot of change for the Bengals. If not, in my opinion, Joe Burrow leaving.
Yeah, I don't want it to get lost, too. I mean, this is now 2 weeks in a row of Lamar looking, I think, significantly better than he looked in the weeks prior to that. It looks like he's kind of starting to gear his way back up from the injuries, and obviously those are going to be nagging with him all through the season. I don't think we're done with the missed practices, but against the Steelers, I thought he looked really solid and spry. Today, he didn't have to do too much scrambling around, but he was on time, on target to Zay multiple times. I know he had the interception or whatever, but Zay with that amazing catch where he scooped the ball, that one might be lost to history. The check to Ali, I called it out in the moment. I was like, oh, he sees something here. And then what do you know? Touchdown right off of that. Had another, could have been touchdown to Zay down in the red zone. And the touchdown that he did have was maybe his best throw all year. So 2 weeks in a row, he's looking good. I think you're right, Spenny. It feels like a little bit of a spring in his step there. And Brian, it couldn't be coming at a better time.
Yeah, I mean, they've got these 2 gigantic games here against really quality opponents. And I would say they haven't seen a team of this quality since, the Rams probably, and they were far from a complete team playing against that Rams team. So the way I look at the math, to be honest, is Steelers have got to lose one of these next 3 games against Miami, Detroit, Cleveland. And if we just go ahead and split one of these 2 games against quality opponent, we're going to give ourselves a shot at this thing. And my thought is, if we can't go and beat one of these next 2 teams, we don't really deserve our shot, just because we haven't really beat a quality opponent all year. So that's a little bit of my thought going into next week. But what I love most about today, and we've kind of alluded to it, is they just had an edge. They just had the attack mentality, like you saw Draymond Jones say, like Ronnie Stanley getting fired up and whooping up the crowd, getting the sideline fired up. That is so antithetical to like who he's been for a decade plus here in Baltimore. He's the calm, cool, collected guy who's just kind of quiet, goes about his business. He was super fired up. And I think every offensive line should have their guy who's just kind of a little bit of a powder keg, and we've been missing that a little bit. And I'm not asking Ronnie Stanley to be that guy. Obviously, he's the veteran presence and the leader of that offensive line. But I think we just need a little bit more of that dog in them offensively. And I felt like he brought that in that moment. And it was Draymond Jones kind of doing the crybaby thing, taunting them a little bit and making them feel like the losers they are. Like it was infectious. And I felt like it came out on both sides of the ball.
Yeah, they were blowing guys off the line in the run game too, in another way that I feel like we haven't really seen all that much. It looked, I think, better, in spurts against the Steelers, but this was like a true explosion. Henry going 11 for 109.1, long of 29. Keaton 8 for 66, 8.3, long of 22. Lamar actually ripping off a solid 2 for 26 and a 13-yard per carry average there. So, yeah, this running game, Taylor, I thought it looked exceptional. And I feel like this is another thing that if it's trending upward at the right time, that's going to be great, because I feel like they've been missing that a lot this season. I think things have been out of sorts. Brian, we were talking in the group chat about the time of possession disparity. And I think if we were looking at it right, the Bengals kind of doubled the Ravens in terms of time of possession. I was belly aching about that on Twitter. And That's kind of been the case all this season, but especially throughout as the game started to ramp up, it felt like they were at the very least starting to get that running game going, which Taylor, like I said, huge, could be a huge ace in the hole for them.
Yeah, I have to give a mea culpa on the Keaton Mitchell thing. I feel like I made fun of that a lot, and we still make fun of the just obsession with Keaton Mitchell when we text during these games a little bit. But there is a real thunder and lightning situation there. I mean, the Keaton Mitchell burst after you have to deal with the Derrick Henry downhill, getting his legs churning, bowling over you. And sometimes Keaton does this a little bit in garbage time, but like that's a real thing. Like when he comes in, he gives them a different look in terms of running the football. And I think they're starting to find what that balance kind of looks like. And so as you said, Jake, that could be really dangerous if they really get that going. So he could be in a time where it feels like the Ravens are struggling to hit big plays down the field this year. Keaton Mitchell gives you the ability, with Henry obviously, to hit big plays in the run game, like a lot of other teams don't have. When you can't throw the ball down the field, that to get chunk plays like that in the running game is obviously super valuable. So very impressive there. And just to touch on the Lamar point, I thought he was excellent today. Like obviously the pick wasn't his fault. The throw to Zay was, Jake, I totally agree. I think that was his best throw of the year as well. I thought he looked super in control. Obviously took a couple sacks, but that's going to happen with the way the offensive line is and the way he tries to extend plays. I thought he was really, really smooth, looked healthier, threw the ball really well. Could have had another touchdown. There's probably some other worlds where Zay makes that catch in the third quarter in the back of the end zone. And yeah, I that gives you some hope going into this last 3-game stretch to where you bring the Patriots in town coming up in Baltimore, and you're like, okay, Lamar getting back to a point of health where he could put together a vintage primetime game to give you a win over a double-digit team that had the Patriots just ripped off 10 in a row before they lost today or whatever that was. So interesting gut check game for them too, coming off of blowing this lead against the Bills. Can't wait for the Sunday night pod, Jake. That'll be really fun to listen to tomorrow. But yeah, the offense did nice things today, and it really was powered by that running game to set up the pass, the old cliche there. But yeah, I loved how they ran Derrick Henry in the second half and just kind of put it away with them. That's what you want to have happen. That's what he's there for.
Yeah, it turns out Keaton Mitchell just a good player. So I think we might have like overthought that a little bit, but I think it was more just like kind of you're right, the obsession about it. But I also think like I don't want it to get lost that, listen, I know it was 2 years ago now, but that is a catastrophic knee injury that he suffered. Like that was really bad. And like those things can take a while. As somebody who's had a bad knee injury, like you never fully recover from it. Like that does stay with you. And it reminds me a lot of 2020 in J.K. Dobbins' rookie year, where people were kind of freaking out. Like, why are we not using this young guy? Why are we, and that was early in the season. And then later in the season, he's doing what we saw him do against the Bengals that year, where he just runs buck wild. And, it's my favorite thing that Spenny and I, going back 5-6 years now, fresh legs. It's great to have fresh legs coming out of the bullpen. And listen, Keaton's got a lot of rest. I don't think there's a ton of tread on the tires, ton of wear and tear right now. And now's the time to fully unleash this thing. And I get the people with the frustrations, and maybe it could have served them well when they were losing 5 games in a row or whatever it was. So like, I'm not going to like crow about that too much, but ultimately it could be a thing that serves them well, I think.
Ravens ran the ball officially 24 times for 189 yards, but 3 of those were Tyler Huntley-Neal's. He had 3 carries for -3 yards. So it was really
what a bum.
He's a Pro Bowl quarterback, Taylor. Come on.
Yeah, it's horrible.
So if it was 21 carries for 192 yards. That's 9.1 yards per carry. And regarding the Keaton Mitchell thing and fresh legs overall, the guy did just get hurt like without contact running the ball in the open field last week and was questionable. So I think it makes sense to limit him in some regard, but happy to see him getting snaps at the same time. So I don't know. I think we can make fun of ourselves. We were all poo-pooing. Taylor says a mea culpa for him. We were all poo-pooing on like, oh, Keaton Mitchell is going to be the savior. And he is explosive, and he's a great change of pace. I think Ali has looked great too. All 3 of those backs really. And Henry got rolling to a crazy degree in the second half. So was awesome to see all of that. The Ravens ended up having, like I said, 192 yards excluding the kneels. And Henry, I mean, 9.1 yards per carry, another 100-yard rushing game. I have, according to Next Gen Stats here, this was his 5th 100-yard game of the year, which I feel like feels weird. But Henry became the 4th player in NFL history to record at least 3,000 rushing yards in his first 2 seasons with a new team. He joins Ricky Williams, who had 3,225, and Priest Holmes, who had 3,170 with Kansas City, as well as Jerome Bettis. So 4th player all time to achieve 3,000 yards in 2 seasons with a new team. So an awesome feat from Derrick Henry, who I tweeted, I was like, get the young guys the ball in the second half, because it looked like Henry was a little, I don't know, tentative, slow. Maybe it was just cold. I don't know what it was, but then Henry came out and I think had 3 carries of 20 plus yards in the second half. And it's really impressive to me always when you can run for something like 192 yards and not have a 30-yard run. So it was consistently getting push up front. It was consistently attacking them the right ways in the run game. And Lamar Jackson said himself, he said, nobody likes to tackle in the cold. And I don't think anybody wants to tackle Derrick Henry in the cold. So that was cool. And the completeness upon which the Ravens imposed their will gives me goosebumps. It felt like a John Harbaugh December Baltimore Ravens football team. And it was really refreshing to see the physicality. Brian, I know it got you horned up. Just the physicality on both sides of the ball. And special teams. Charlie Kohler runs that. David Ajabo, Charlie Kohler, Malachi Starks had a huge, wow. I said it was such a huge tackle. The Ravens get backed up, punt the ball to like the Bengals 44. Malachi Starks torpedoes and brings down Charlie Jones, the returner, in space after he made a guy miss. So the physicality, the smash mouth aspect, the completeness of it got me horny. I'm horny. I'm horned up for it. I love it.
It's like you mentioned I was horned up. I was going to say I was horned up just seeing that toss play to open the second half to Henry. When you get that toss out there and there's nobody who's kind of penetrated that side where on the side the toss is on, and you know that by the time he gets to that first level, he's going to have a full head of steam, just gets me going. It's like that moment, that little 2-second moment where you know something's about to happen. It makes you jump out of your seat.
If I remember right on that one too, shout out to our friends at CBS. We'll get into that. I think that was one where it's like they had a graphic up or something, or maybe they were coming out of commercial, and I think they might have missed sort of the opening toss of it. And then I just or maybe I just wasn't looking, and I just looked up and I see Derrick Henry with miles of open space like all around him. That's, you talk about getting horned up. That was George Costanza eating the mango for me.
Yeah, and to follow it up with another one, just another 24-yard romp was quite sexual. So one of these days he's going to break one of those all the way. I feel like he's had a couple where he's just kind of stumbled just when it's about to get real nasty. But yeah, it was a great way to open the half, especially with them kind of turning it over there on downs. And I will say it was a little disheartening not to punch that in for a touchdown, because I felt like at that point we had them on the ropes. But the 17-point lead, like, what I loved about the defense too was that even though even though even though the Bengals started to move the ball, in particular, they got the ball with like 22 seconds left in the third quarter on their own 13. They managed to move the ball 80 yards down the field. And of course, that's the drive that ended in the pick six. But we made them earn every single one of those 80 yards. Like, they were chewing up 2 minutes a time for each set of downs. So just the fact that we were covering deep and we didn't let them get the big chunk play that helped them get a quick strike score or anything like that. Honestly, as they got down to the red zone, I was anticipating them punching that in for a touchdown to make it 17-7. But at that point, there would have been 7.5 minutes left of the game with a 10-point lead. Now, we've seen that movie before, but a part of me was a little bit fired up to see the offense have their opportunity where it's right there in front of them, 10-point lead, go close the game. And they didn't even have to do that, which is awesome, because at the end of the day, you want to get the win, and having the pick six was fucking epic. But yeah, another point to the defense, 16-play, 80-play drive or 80-yard drive, 7 minutes, 44 seconds, where they bent and they bent and they bent. Other scenarios that ends in a touchdown, but in terms of it being contextual football, right type of football at the right time, to make the Bengals work that hard to then not even score, I thought was pretty brilliant.
Yeah, I agree. And I was feeling all that in the second half of the game, but you brought up that 4th and I think 5 that it was that they went for it. Burrow just kind of lofts one to Gesicki. I think he might have had Chase open underneath or something like that. And that just felt like when they sort of threw in the towel. But you're right. It did feel like a unique challenge of, hey, like we've had issues closing out games in the past. It's once again been an issue this year. Like what are we going to, how are we going to respond on both sides of the ball? And I think the offense, I think they were in a 4th and 4 after that one when they drove down, and you mentioned they didn't punch it in for the touchdown. I've said this before the season. I'm kind of glad they didn't go for it. I'm kind of glad they just took their medicine, take the field goal, make the Bengals offense try to get something going, and they weren't able to. And then, just I think the defense overall, like capitalizing on their opportunities when they haven't always done that this season. Marlon, really great job getting that tip drill interception and getting a couple of yards out of that. Spenny, I think he tweeted about how he's just like constantly playing hurt and is just a consummate professional. You love to see that from him. And then, like I said on Twitter, and I think in the group chat, the Van Noy interception, the almost casual handoff. This wasn't even like an Ed Reed lateral, but just locks eyes with Alohi Gilman and just says, you have the watch, brother. I'll see you in Valhalla. He just hands the ball off at Alohi Gilman, just like, Usain Bolt's his way to the end zone, and then does a little Brandon Stokely against the Bengals, funny enough, and runs down the front of the end zone and scores there. That was a really fun moment. And like you said, Spenny, it's just a season that's been, I think, much too lacking in fun moments, and that was kind of the cherry on top today for me.
It was just a big fun factor. The chippiness. Dre Jones had 5 quarterback hits in this one. The boohoo. Oh my God, boohoo. Oh,
the boohoo was awesome.
The review. It was a. I'm biased. I am a Baltimore Ravens fan. He didn't do shit. I mean, he kind of, it didn't look like he even leaned his shoulder into him or anything. He just made a little bit of contact with him. Burrow goes flying. Gesicki's a flop king. They were Tanner Hudson was flopping out of bounds. Alohi Gilman. I think someone tweeted and said the Bengals' only offensive strategy today was to flop, and it was very nice to see not a single one of them called. And Dre Jones go boo in their faces, like, oh my God. And I'll always respect among the 5 dominant quarterbacks in the NFL of this era that Lamar Jackson is the one that I've never seen flop one fucking time. There's no points awarded for not flopping, but there's
in terms of hierarchy, Burrow is certainly not the worst. I think Allen is like the guy is like a performance artist. Same thing with Gesicki. You mentioned that too. Gesicki is just like one of the most emotive players I've ever seen. He looks like he's in Fortnite out there. He's flopping for calls. He's doing the gritty whenever he scores. Like that guy's something else. But I think I do generally respect Burrow for not being one of those guys. We did see that a little bit today, and it was good to see. Like I said, like earlier in the show, just the refs kind of holstering it a little bit. And especially, I think, I'm not even kidding when they say this, the cold might have factored into that. The refs were like, all right, we cannot we let's not prolong what's going on here. Let's just like get this shit done and get the hell out of here.
That might be a very true point. They're like, no. We're not, whoa. No, we're not opening up this Pandora's box of flippity flop, hippity hop, flip flopping. So was just cool. Cool to see. And badass to see a Ravens team punish the Bengals on both sides of the football. The Bengals are flopping. It's not getting called. It was what felt like to me Fish's last little couple hops out of water before it finally gives up. So broke down the Bengals organization, ran the ball down their throat, hit the quarterback, took the ball away, shut them out, man. And then we talked on Zach Orr lightly, but I think there was a comment in the chat here that said like, oh, Zach Orr must have been fired up on the plane. I don't think he was fired up on the plane. I think he was fired up on the motherfucking field watching him go nuts. He wanted the goose egg bad. And I think there's no greater pride that a defensive coordinator can have, especially against Joe Burrow in your division, in a must-win game, to shut them out, to take the ball away in the red zone, to hit him, batter them, see them flopping. It's not getting called. Your guys are punching them in the face. The amount of stunts that they had. And yeah, shout out to I think he's the best Ravens fan we got, the dude Butta, who had that video. It looked like Chad Ochocinco Johnson had him in like Jamar Chase's suite. He was down on the field before the game. Guys jumping up and down going, why aren't you guys celebrating when the Ravens returned that Alohi Gilman, Big Island breakaway, and got kicked out of Jamar Chase's family suite. So that was really cool.
I was unfamiliar with this game. He's catching that foul today. That was an all-time clip.
It was super funny. So just really thoroughbred. Taylor used the word professional performance. The pocket square was nice and tucked. The tie had a nice knuckle to it, a nice little knot in it, nice little dimple in it. And the tie bar was on, the cologne was on, the teeth were white, the hair was gelled. It was a true professional performance, Taylor.
They did the full Ashton Hall. They put their face in ice, the banana peel. It was a full thing today.
Probably literally put their face in ice before this game, considering the weather that was going on. I think if you're Zach Orr, you're looking through the last, 8 to 9 weeks, and you probably feel like decently good about the job that you've done. I mean, I think the only time they've allowed 20 since maybe the Houston game is the Steelers game. I mean, and obviously there's some moments in there where you would have hoped the defense would have stepped up in individual parts of certain games. But obviously level of competition at times too has been decently easy, but they've played pretty well defensively for a while now. They showed at one point, CBS showed a graphic. I think it was like first 5 weeks, last however many. And it looked very good defensively. So, they've put a lot together. Obviously they trade for Gilman, helped that, and they've gotten a bunch of guys healthy. And we saw some of that help out today as well. But this was sort of his probably, the performance he's most proud of, his defense back against the wall, go into against an offense they've had trouble shutting down and get it done. He had to have loved watching every part of that. And they did some really, really good things. And now you go into 2 games or 3 must-win games essentially. And I'll be interested to see how they deal with this Patriots team, who obviously has the ascending quarterback and in a massive spot. And traditionally, this is where the Ravens defense throughout history would shine against a quarterback that's kind of trying to make the leap and shut him down and in a really big spot, in a primetime spot. And we'll see if this Ravens defense can kind of carry over their momentum. And I talked about the Ravens' mental toughness showing through. The Bengals were clearly the team that got more demoralized by their loss than, both teams had demoralizing losses last week, and the Bengals clearly in a totally worse spot than the Ravens to try to make the playoffs. Their season ended last week pretty clearly, based on a lot of what they did today. But still doesn't take away from everything the Ravens did. And now you hope they could take that forward. And the other reason I was watching some of the end of these 4 o'clock games. The other reason you just want to get into the dance is with how even this entire thing feels this year. Really in both conferences. Obviously the Rams have probably established themselves as the best team, but you look at it and you're like, God, just get there. And it doesn't matter the path. You don't feel like there's any boogeyman team. Obviously you wouldn't want to go to Buffalo at any point just because it's Buffalo, but like Chiefs are done. Like there's just no boogeyman team in the AFC that makes you think like, oh, if we got in, we couldn't theoretically get through them. If everything kind of pieced together well. So it's an incumbent on the Ravens. They've had opportunities all year to make it not as hard as it's going to be over the next 3 weeks, but the opportunity is there and you have to figure out a way to take advantage of it. Because it just feels totally wide open in every single way.
Huge opportunity for a little Red Dead Redemption here on Sunday night too. I mean, the Ravens have been objectively awful at home compared to how they're usually feel in primetime games at home. Like they're just getting wiped off the map this year. And like you said, Taylor, the stage is set. Surging young team, they're coming into your house, and you got to win one of these 2 games going into the Steelers game and the final week, ideally both of them. And this is it's a winnable game. Maybe we were going to guess the lines, Brian. Sorry to step on your toes. Ravens open as 2.5-point favorites against Drake May and the Pats.
A little bit surprising, to be honest, just because of where the 2 teams are in the standings and just where the general vibe for the course of the season has been. But Vegas has believed in the Ravens for a long time here. Even the line today felt a little bit wonky, just coming off the loss. But I mean, the saying is Vegas knows. So encouraging to see that that's the case, and I'm hoping that they hold their ground there. Spencer made the point that it feels like every time they're favored by 2.5, they take care of business. So I don't know how true that is, but I'll leave that there.
Patriots have they've beaten Jackson Dart, Joe Flacco, Fields or Taylor, one of the two. They did beat the Baker Mayfield Bucks, who have been beaten to shit offensively. They beat in a 1-point game Michael Penix, but they won. So no, the spread, the margin of victory doesn't matter. W's matter. They beat the Browns. They beat the Titans. They beat the Saints. They have beaten the Bills once, beat them in Buffalo. They beat a Panthers team that was really struggling early on to put them at 1-3 before they'd kind of figured out their team on both sides of the football. Lost to the Steelers. They beat the Dolphins, who struggled really early in the year, and they lost to the Raiders. So they have won games. They have taken care of business. And I would say they've taken care of business generally against not strong opponents. And I would say the Ravens have taken care of business generally against not strong opponents, save for really like the Steelers came out and made some plays last week. I'll give them credit on that. And guess what? The Patriots lost to the Steelers too. But I'll say that Bengals game on Thanksgiving, they had a lot of opportunities to blow that door wide open. But since they played their early gauntlet, they've done the same thing. Like them and the Patriots, I don't think are terribly far off in that regard. Patriots are young. I get it. And I get Lamar Jackson playing a little bit more healthy, looking good, and generally just the Ravens over a larger sample size. Well, they haven't been good in prime time this year at home, and they have struggled more than they have in years past. I get the Ravens being favored there. I'm not shocked by 3.5. I wouldn't be shocked if the Patriots were like 1.5 point favorites, 2.5 point favorites either. So we'll see how the line moves throughout the week and what sharp action leans on. But I think it's a tough spot. Patriots are coming off a bye. And they, of course, are doing advanced scouting on the Ravens and have a game plan in place for the Ravens ahead of time. So Ravens greatly removed from their bye. Ronnie Stanley gets banged up in this one. Marlon Humphrey gets banged up in this one. Teddy Buchanan, Harbaugh, sounds like they're trying to confirm whether it's an ACL. I would guess that was an ACL or a knee, unfortunately. Cheeto Awuzie got caught in the netting, Harbaugh said. I guess flew through the back of the end zone, ends up in the fucking net, just some goof pickle stuff. Need to kind of see a replay of that one. But Cheeto was
injured on that one.
Yeah, I think he's had a lingering ankle foot, and it was cold, so maybe it's just a little tweak. But we'll see. Injury report to me is going to be big in this one, but yeah, man, I'm running through the ESPN playoff machine here, and I know we had a question in the chat earlier, like what happens with the Ravens if the Ravens beat the Steelers and the Steelers basically don't win out, then like the Steelers are gonna have to win out and beat the Ravens. Pretty much, it feels like they have to go beat the Lions. I don't see the Steelers have to beat the Lions. Don't see that happening.
One up along the way.
Yeah. So
I genuinely think the Dolphins might beat them tomorrow night.
I think the Dolphins are going to beat them tomorrow, and I'm going to take the Dolphins tomorrow. I took the Bills today. I took the Ravens today. Fins up, baby.
Fins up. Mike McDaniel saving his job. Brian, I know you're super fired up about
Brian
that.
loves the Fins.
Big Mike McDaniel guy, big Fins guy, Kyle Rajat, things of that nature.
Yeah, Fins up. I said the Fins could go on a run here. They're on their run. They won all the games I said that they could win in the little stretch, and this is where shit kind of turns on them. They're going to play a Dolphins team or a Bengals team next week. They're that dog. So who's to say that the Dolphins can't continue forward here and win a few more?
Surging their way into the wild card race. Are they? Crowded wild card this year.
It was even just weird to see Cincinnati on the in the hunt graphic today at 4-9. What are we doing?
Yeah, that's the state of the AFC right now. Patrick Mahomes, Chiefs, going to miss the playoffs for the first time in 11 years, and the Bengals are in the hunt at 4-8. That's where
the
we're
Dolphins, if they run the table, bump their probability up to 2% that they make the playoffs. So they're not in it, but we can dream.
Listen, there's a lot of jobs on the line. Get a bunch of wins in a row. Talk, Uncle Stephen Ross into keeping me on board if I'm Mike McD. Tua, string some things together. Maybe next year's the year Tua figures it out. Just put together some good play. On the field out there, and we're all rooting for it. We're rooting for it with a fervor.
It looks like their big leverage games are everything involving the Bills. Like I think they need the Bills to lose out, which is just not going to happen unless Allen gets hurt. I guess that's the one way that maybe happens.
That horse runs no matter what.
Yeah.
That horse gets to the open
Trubisky.
field and goes.
Trubisky's the backup there.
Probably.
Allen's about to have a big dose of perspective coming too.
Yes, he does.
News over the weekend.
Congrats to the happy couple.
Congrats to the Steinfeld family.
The Steinfeld
We
family.
don't do the thing with NFL quarterbacks the way we do with golfers. Like,
No, that's what I was driving at. Like, Jordan Spieth, new perspective. Like,
yeah. Wow.
That was a hell of a win by the Bills, by the way. If I was going to take that's an amazing win.
Bo, who's come on the show a couple times when they're down, were they down 21-0?
Yeah.
Bogo's taking Bills plus 475. I said no. I said I love them spread. I took them spread, but I was like, no, Vrabel won't let that happen. And now he's just been mercilessly mocking me. Vrabel won't let that happen. Vrabel won't let that happen.
Really good Vrabel. It was almost like a little Harbaugh look on his face when they had the ball deflected on 4th down. He did the whole like look up at the sky thing. I said, yep, happens to all these guys. Every team thinks their coach doesn't give that look, and they get upset at their own coach. They all do it. They all have their own version of it. It's just a question of how.
McVay is insane. When McVay fails against Shanahan, it is insane to see.
Vrabel's is like, that's a guy that I don't want to be within 10 feet of out of fear that there's just a simmering rage and his traps are just going to like pop out of his like quarter zip or whatever. With Harbaugh, it's more like there's something existential going on. It's like the Edvard Munch, the scream, like I'm just like, man, I just don't even want to think about this. Like
when it's Sean McDermott, he looks like the coldest person on the planet when they lose in the playoffs. He's
got a little Tom Coughlin to him. Sean McDermott.
Yes.
Face. Yeah. Like
young Coughlin, young Sheldon.
Yeah.
We had a comment here. Roadrunner Crow says, I feel like Hamilton's been a ghost the past couple of weeks. I don't know. I thought he was
drew a holding call early on.
That, and I think he was forcing backs into committing to holes consistently. He was coming off the edge so hot. Backs were forced to attack like nothing, like run into a wall because he was coming several times. I think he's shutting down today, at least, was like shutting down one side of a zone play, taking the cutback lane away so that they had to kind of go into the scrum there. Also, shout out to Samaje Perine, having like what looked like a horrific injury, basically like throwing the ball out of his hands to grab his knee and then is back in like 5 plays later. That was hilarious because he wasn't injured. That was very funny to me.
Yeah. On the Kyle Hamilton thing, like offensive coordinators have 168 hours in theory to prepare for a team. He's taken up a lot of those hours during the week and everything. So might not show up on game day so much now that there's enough tape on what he's doing and how they're utilizing him. But yeah, that's my thought there.
There's ebbs and flows to that too. We talked about the last couple of weeks. I felt like they hadn't been blitzing him as much. Now that you've put that on tape, maybe you can start doing that again and kind of hope that the things will start to work back into that direction, because I feel like he's their best pass rusher. As crazy as that is to say, but he obviously gets the benefit of a running start, and also he's a pterodactyl with legs somehow, and there's just a lot going on there with Kyle Hamilton, who we love.
The pass rush played with anger, and Mike Green had a sack in this one where his sack was really cool. He ran the arc and kind of got shoved out, like got his tires slid out from under him, got shoved down, and then just bounced off the ground, almost like doing a up down, and goes and hits Burrow at the end of the first half. Dre Jones was so physical. Kyle Van Noy had a big hit. Travis Jones was a beast, and thought he was going to get that roughing the passer. Ends up being, I think, OPI maybe on the Bengals. Travis Jones was mauling fresh off that contract, which you love to see. You love to see a guy get paid, and it gets him fired up. So whatever Ed Reed, whatever Harbaugh did this week, it's tough to, and we talked about this in the preview, Jake, like, it's tough to have a laser level of focus like it took to get to 1-5 to 6-5 and win 5 straight. And it makes sense that the Ravens took their eye off the ball a couple times in the last, couple weeks against some divisional opponents that are fighting for their own playoff lives. It's tough to bottle that for 15, 16, 17, and 18. But for it to look the way it did today, I think is the most promising we've seen the Ravens this season, even including when they came out hot against the Bills. Like, it was complimentary. It was running the ball in December. And for all the, Lamar Jackson's from Florida and he hates the cold weather, blah, 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 blah. I did have an image here that I wanted to pull up. Let me get rid of George Costanza here in the backstage. But Lamar seemed to like be enjoying the cold weather today. Let's see if I have it. Yeah, Aditi Kikabwala here tweeted and said, always the consummate gentleman. Lamar Jackson, Taylor, I know you love this. Lamar Jackson shared his coat during our post-game chat.
I did like this.
Thank you at Lamar Jackson for taking pity on a sideline reporter / icicle. And Aditi has covered the Steelers so much and is kind of a Ravens hater, which fine, I get it. I know the game, Aditi, the clicks. I get that. But Lamar embracing the cold was fun to see, and I thought this was awesome. And Dre Jones saying like they didn't want to play in the cold and we did. Lamar's talking about how it's hard to tackle Derrick Henry in the cold. It's going to be cold. It's going to be ugly. And that's like the reason I like the Ravens so much. Honestly, in my life, when I was little, I thought it was so cool how physical they were when it was cold out at the end of the season. Like that was the coolest thing growing up, was them beating the snot, like hitting the dried frozen snot off of your face. So to see a little bit of that today brought back some of that boyhood Ravens fandom that obviously most of our listeners are in our own demographic, 25 to 40-year-old white males with some flavor in there too. And we go look at the demo, but that's the stuff I liked. That's the stuff that most of our listeners probably liked. A bunch of 25 to 4-year-olds. That's who's mostly listening here. And Kyle Hamilton was plugging holes. Lamar had Teddy Two Gloves and Derrick Henry running down their throat. It was fun to watch. It was fun.
We had a little bit of a seasonably warm Sunday on the horizon, 51 during the day for this upcoming Sunday, but 30 at night. So that flex to the night game, I guess, brings the cold back into play a little bit more.
I think it's the wind, but dude, I walked by my front door. I was like 4 feet away from it, and I just felt like a chill coming through it. It felt like, a horror movie when you're in like a cold environment. You just like feel that chill coming at you. I was like, what's going on out there? And that's like not even nearly as cold as it was out there for them today. So yeah, it was, again, we'll keep coming back to that word, fun. Just so much fun to watch. And like for all the talk about Lamar and the cold, and definitely we have seen that. It's like you think back to that Texans playoff game where, we were freezing our buns off walking into that stadium. He has a 4-touchdown performance. Then today, like I said, he throws that dot to Zay and, a couple other, deep shots that he hit, that run game getting going. It's just good to see them braving the elements. It does. You're right, Spenny. It does feel like to the Ravens of old that my guy Taylor Hodges, who's in the comments here, is always pining for.
The Ravens of cold.
The Ravens of cold. Anything on the broadcast? We were definitely in the Catalan zone today, Taylor. I think we had our guy Spiro on the call there. Was that is that Arch? Is that his guy?
Spiro and Arch. Yeah. And yeah, I mean, so it's Spiro. My last 2 experiences with Spiro this year were him calling Maryland getting absolutely housed in Vegas at the Players Era tournament. So when I heard his voice to start the game, I shuddered a bit. I actually think these guys are, I like Spiro. I think he's good. I think Arch is fine. I think it's a classic CBS. Catalan zone is the right way to say it. Like it's totally acceptable. There's nothing bad about the broadcast. It's pretty well produced. I was in and out on the commentary for the entire game with some different things I was doing as I was watching. But I think I generally think that they're solid. But yeah, Spiro, I think when you get in that like Spiro Catalan thing, you're like, hey, as long as it's not like egregiously bad, you're fine. I then had that Catalan crew was calling the Seahawks Colts game, and I watched a little bit of the end of that, and I was like, I think I liked, and they had they were all like going through the 3-man, and I just think like when you get to the bottom of this, just don't do the 3-man booth. Just get a lot of chemistry with like the play-by-play guy and the color guy. Let them work it out throughout the year. The 3-man booth is, I think, ultimately a lot of times what makes it choppy. And I was thinking about that as like Charles Davis was trying to like get his points in the Catalan game. And I'm just like, all right, this is choppy because there's 3 guys in here and they're all trying to talk. As opposed to Archuleta and Spiro going back and forth. They've been together for a while. So that was my overall takeaway. It was good. And this is the cold weather games is when the sideline reporter actually comes into play a little bit more, when you're like trying to actually get a feel.
Good job by Didi today.
And I think Aditi did a good job. She didn't look miserable, which was good. I hate kind of when they look miserable. It's like, you know what you're getting into. Like,
yeah.
You're
or they talk about how miserable it is. They do it with a little bit of tongue in cheek. It's a much more perceptive.
And I thought she did a good job of that. So yeah, pretty good broadcast. CBS is, 4 through 6 to 7 teams, or I guess I don't even know if they get that deep, are kind of all plug and play, replacement level player. Not that anybody's bad. It's just they're all kind of the same. That none are like. It doesn't feel like they have anybody like There's a few when Dick Stockton was getting towards the end at Fox, and you have him on your game, like, oh god, like we gotta or when Matt Millen was still calling NFL games, you're like
Tim Ryan.
He's doing BTN, and he comes on like the Maryland Howard game, and I'm like, oh, all right, here we go. Hopefully Joe B just talks the entire time. But so yeah, all that to say, B probably if I was going to give it a letter grade, like passable, totally fine.
I like the moment with Aditi and Harbaugh where Harbaugh, in a chipper mood there as she's interviewing. Funny how that works when they're actually winning. He's a joy to be around. Not always when it's the other way, understandably, but they made a little quip about Harbaugh kind of eyeing up her mittens a little bit. Coaches, by the way, both of them going with the ball cap today. Neither of them doing the knit, the toque.
The Sirianni.
Cool. Yeah.
The Sirianni beanie. Yeah,
I did find my worst moment for the broadcast. I get it. It was just insufferable. I think they spent 20 real minutes just talking about Burrow's comments late in the fourth quarter to kind of close the game out.
That's when I had a lot of the volume out, so I did not hear.
I turned it down and I said, "Who is this for? Like, you've already mentioned it 6 times. The Bengals fans definitely don't want to hear it. I'm not interested at this point in the game. The team I like is up 24-0. Who was the 20-minute tirade about Burrow's comments and all the it was
specifically to dispel any drama with them, like, oh no, it's gonna be fine, everything's okay,
right?
Like,
it felt really manufactured.
You can also kind of tell when the broadcast has prepared for it to get out of hand and when they haven't, and I bet they didn't think that was a game where they were gonna have to fill for most of the fourth quarter with like filler type of stuff. And so they must have found that topic and been like, okay, this is relevant. We'll just talk about this forever. Just assuming it was maybe going to be close. Cause there are other times that when the Ravens have played bad teams, when you're like, oh, they have packages. They're ready to like talk about things because they knew the game was going to get out of hand. Probably. This did not seem like that situation. And in fairness, it wasn't out of hand for that long, but after the pick, the game was over. But yeah, if you're a Cincinnati fan, you're like, oh my God, please stop. And
I was a Ravens fan. I was like, please talk about something else. Can't talk about the Macy's Christmas Day parade. I'd like talk about anything. It was on and on and on. That was driving me kind of nuts.
Did they talk about Army Navy being in Baltimore at all during the game?
I don't think so.
That felt like that could have been one because it was in Baltimore and that CBS product. Maybe that could have been.
It sounds like that's what made Lamar late.
Yeah,
they didn't know about that obviously at the time, but kind of.
I guess Lamar was late because Lamar was late.
Well, yeah, but
how late were you?
Then somebody said Harbs or one of them.
I don't think he lives in the city, so I don't even know how that would really.
Well, but if you're coming around, I'm assuming they fly to BWI.
They have to.
Yeah.
But if you're coming around and and Trump has the entire like secret, like that stuff does really.
You have to get through the exit if you're going to go down from Owings Mills to 695. You have to go through. I think you have to go through the exit going into the city to get to the BWI exit. So that might have been.
You do.
Correct. You have to. Yes, as someone that's done that from Towson many times to like then get on. Yeah. So
I don't know.
Lamar was also. Lamar was
everyone was kind of late. If there's other people that were late, then sure. But if they were actually waiting for Lamar, then they were like, he was late because he was late.
Do you think he's a Waze guy or like Google Maps or?
I think he knows at this point.
I don't think he knows that Waze exists.
Yeah.
Me neither. That's very funny for me to think about him punching in navigation into whatever car he's driving.
I wonder if the team thought to give those guys a heads up that could potentially be an issue.
I'm sure. I would be shocked.
Would think.
I would be shocked.
I mean, nobody knows more about.
The judge here is saying Secret Service shut down the roads for Trump. As someone who was on the Beltway around 2 p.m., it was the worst traffic I've ever seen.
Yeah, and nobody knows more about logistical problems related to that game than the guy in the bottom right corner here.
Chad Steele's losing his fastball. I'll just put it out there.
Didn't have him prepped on that one.
I was going to say he went up against he's an unstoppable force, but I think he went up against.
I would please delete that comment. We can scrub that from this video, right?
That's a tough. Let me tell. Well, that's also just when you have Lamar up there, the PR team has just got to be like, okay, please Lamar, get through this.
I think Harbaugh, like you said, Taylor, I think Harbaugh was trying to run some interference on that, but Lamar, I think Lamar had a Michael Scott moment where he's like, didn't know where he was going with it. And then he was like, well, cat's out of the bag now. So he just kind of started expanding on it.
Yeah. I mean, it is what it is. I mean, it happens. It clearly didn't affect anything they did, but I do think and you dealt with it yesterday, Brian, going to that game. That is a real thing when the president attends an event. I mean, it happened at the US Open in tennis this year where people were in line forever. Yeah. We had President Obama at 2 Maryland basketball games when I worked there. Once as an intern and then once full time. And it is a scene. The Secret Service is everywhere. You have to take different routes in the arena if you're working within the bounds of it. I essentially I was trying to go towards the scores table at Maryland, and the Secret Service guy nope, no way, big dog. That's a little too close to the president. You're going the other way. So trying to get all those people in.
They whittled it down to one gate, and it was
that's a disaster. I mean, that's where you mess up.
The gate where the statues usually are, which they've moved them, but
that's crazy.
They funneled everyone around the entire stadium, and then there were protests on Russell and Hamburg at that intersection. So that was a whole scene. So
that was down too, yeah.
But stand in line at 2:00 for 3:10 kickoff. I got in with 10 minutes left in the second quarter.
That's great.
And
one of the all-time great Trump comments, by the way, to the 2016 edition at this very stadium, where he's like, I think Gary Danielson's setting him up. What do you think? What do you expect today? He's like, it's always great to watch. It's maybe not the best football, but it's very good. One of the funniest fucking things Trump has ever said. I was hoping for a repeat of that. I didn't see it.
You texted that, Brian, and then I'm watching the start of the broadcast. It did feel like there were a lot of people in there. So I can only imagine how early some people got there trying to get in.
The areas around the gates, well ahead of kickoff. I'm talking 11:30 noon for a 3:00 kickoff. I don't know when the gates exactly opened, but there were people crowded there as though they were waiting to get in. So some people had the foresight, but I thought an hour before kick was more than enough time.
Was there any briefing on this? Did your tickets give you any kind of warning, or it's just
not really? No, not at all. Not at all.
Yeah, maybe they sent a know before you go email, but not everyone sees those things.
Yeah, that's kind of on the stadium and on the ticket provider for not
coming from the other side of the stadium, so it just made it that much worse.
The other weird part about that is they get the midshipmen and the cadets in there extremely early. They're there for the entire pregame. And that's a lot of people. So that's taking away you would think some of that. But if you only have one gate open, I mean, if you only have one gate open,
it was cool. They do the march to the stadium, and they did it down Utah and down Ravens Walk and around. And I think the Naval Academy was between 11 and 12, and the cadets were between 12:30 and 1. So they were all in there by 1:00.
It also was cool that Blake Horvath got to see the stadium he's going to be playing in every week as a pro. I'm just going to put that out there. Another Keenan Reynolds, but actually good this time. That's what I'm hoping for.
Keenan Reynolds ended up trying out as a tight end in the NFL, correct?
I think he was receiver.
Receiver. Oh, I thought it was tight end for some reason.
Keenan went too slim for the big boy tight end.
Yeah.
I think he called
the Kyle Pitts style tight end where he just plays no tight end.
Yeah, exactly.
They finally figured that out. It took the Falcons 3 years to realize they just play that guy receiver.
Yeah. How about it? Who would have thought?
But
last thing on the broadcast, and this might only be a playoff thing, Brian, but what does a man have to do to get trying to pour water out of a glass in weather like that, or having the big, temperature gauge?
Yeah, I feel like that's gone by the wayside.
What's so stupid about that is if you did put the big temperature gauge up there, the broadcast is going viral. It's the easiest engagement.
Barstool is all over that every time.
I would even go further to say you're robbing children of core memories by not showing it.
Yeah,
there's little fibers that the children of 2025 deserve to be threaded in their little teeny tiny brains that you are just not connecting for them, and that's just rude, CBS.
Yeah, That's exactly what I was thinking. It's a childhood, thing that I can think back to multiple times. New England certainly being one of them. They hosted a lot of cold playoff games in the Brady era. So I think maybe even some Baltimore ones. Let's get back to that. Let's get some Guinness.
Green Bay Atlanta game.
If it's in Miami and it's 99 degrees out, I want to see if an egg can fry in the frying pan on the field. I want to know if cookies could bake in the Lamborghini. If it's -4, I want to see water freeze. These are basic things that I've been programmed to see that you are not providing for stimuli that I have grown up on and robbing our youth. CBS is destroying the fiber of America before our very eyes.
Yeah.
With that or Fire Country?
Well, what about Sheriff Country? What are your thoughts on that?
Or the tracker? And by the way, the tracker just continues to do work, you can tell. Within those commercials,
brother, every time I'm over my parents' house, I get all my tracker and my Sheriff Country updates. They love that show, and they are one of the 65 million that are apparently watching those shows. I don't get it. I don't understand how those shows receive the audiences they do, but I don't know. I guess boomers are just they're keeping them on life support, or not even life support. They're thriving, and good for them.
There's 2 Americas.
There might be more than 2.
Yeah, I was gonna say there's probably more than 2.
Going to that other America soon.
Yeah, absolutely. All right. Anything else from this one?
Bring back the giant thermometers. There's one there too. There had to be one there. I think it's like almost mandatory that you have one so that
I don't think they miss in Green Bay. I think they always will have been doing it still consistently in Green Bay. So it's one that we'll circle back on this in a couple weeks. I obviously won't be able to contribute on that because I'll actually be there, but maybe I do some content.
I got a little homework for you.
Yeah.
Plastic cup of water or little thermometer temperature gauge type thing, bring it in with you, and we're going to get
dressed as a gigantic thermometer.
Yeah, listen,
you're a big chain that's a thermometer for us. Just get a nice link around it.
Flavor Flav but it's a thermometer instead of a clock.
Mr. Freeze.
Honestly, the one they use on TV should be big enough where you can see it from the stands, no matter where you're sitting. So you will be able to contribute on that.
They should put it on the Booger Mobile. Make it really big, put it on the Booger Mobile, and go back and forth throughout the game. Obstruct view and all that good stuff.
That'd be fine, honestly. I wouldn't be mad if I could see a thermometer if Booger was blocking my vision.
They've got the orange pylons of sorts that are the 10, 20, 30, 40. Like there should be one of those, but like the Rolex clock that you see at a nice golf course driving range, they should have one on every 10-yard line so that everybody in the stands has good view of the temperature and the feels like, and maybe put a pitcher of water right there next to it.
Love that. See, we're
Ravens game day experience. Like let's get some cold themes going for Sunday night football prime time. Let's have a little video montage. It's cold on the water. The Raven flies in covered in snow like Jon Snow, the 3-eyed Raven. Give me some of that.
Well, as we did say, this coming Sunday night, it's going to be that, high of 48 and probably not going to get below freezing. So we're going to miss our window there. But like I said, Brian is going to be on the case in Green Bay in a couple of weeks.
I should have walked outside and tried to do it today here. It's freaking so cold. By the way, before we leave, the Chicago Bears, they're down. Unbelievable.
Tough one for your guy there on the other side, though.
We're developing. Shador is, look, it wasn't Shador's day. He will have his days.
I was Jerry Jeudy. He's proven to be a goof pickle guy to steal some of Benny's lexicon.
He's S tier goof pickle always.
Top.
Even last week he had a fumble. He's like jumping with the ball in his hands and just gets punched out from behind because he's doing the world's most unnecessary like shimmy yah.
One of the funniest things I've ever seen.
Spenny, what was your Jerry Jeudy draft eval?
High. I had him high.
He feels like
in an article for Baltimore Beatdown. I said Justin Jefferson checks every single box, and there are boxes that Jerry Jeudy does not check. My wide receiver 1 was CeeDee Lamb. I think my wide receiver 2 was Jeudy. Who else is in that class? Ruggs.
Ooh. I think they're the same. Yeah, I think
they got moved to a.
No, I was crazy high on Ruggs. Jake, you remember we were both really high on Ruggs, and Ruggs was fucking good. Whatever, Ruggs was fucking good on the Raiders, and I think I was too scared, and I put Jefferson 4th. But I remember like having an article where I was like, there are boxes Justin Jefferson checks that Jerry Jeudy does not. There's not a box that Jerry Jeudy checks that Justin Jefferson doesn't. So I liked him a lot though, and I think he's been solid. He's kind of like Hollywood Brown to me. They both just like they're professional wide receivers. They have weird stuff they do. They're kind of like they kind of tune in and tune out. They have games where they're focused, games where they're not. They're productive.
Him and like some of that ilk is when I started to develop my like Michael Burry receiver bubble theory. Like there's just like 4 of these guys every year that you can get in like the 3rd round, Jerry Jeudy types. And like
shout out to the Coke heads. Jalen Coker going crazy today. Yeah, like that dude's a mid-round pick. He gets hurt, like misses half the year. He was good last year. Freaking like there's so many of those guys, Jake.
Yeah, absolutely. And yeah, like I said, that kind of felt like the beginning of that as we got our guy, Mike Myers.
He's on 71, yeah. Mike 71,
huh?
But it's cold outside.
I feel that makes me feel soft. I got mine on 72 here, and we're only at like 17.
Well, we're built different out here.
yeah. That Midwestern blood just runs thicker than us out here on the East Coast. Your Midwestern roots really showing.
Really rooted in after a year.
You're gonna walk out after this and go get a beef, and then hop down to the corner tavern and take a shot of Malort.
Some Malort, yeah. Lord. The order of that draft, Spenny, was Ruggs at 12, Jeudy at 15. This is just like when they got picked.
Lamb at 17,
Rager 21, Jefferson 22, Brandon Ayuk 25.
Love that. I actually liked all of them. I liked Rager too. I thought Rager was going to be like a 45, 55 reception, like 800, 900 yard guy that would have like 7 touchdowns. I thought he would be almost Jameson Williams. In hindsight, I thought he would be like that, and he was not. He was terrible, so that was a mess.
T. Higgins in the top of the 2nd round.
Kyle Shanahan all-time bus toss today with Brandon Ayuk saying, I literally haven't talked to him in a month. Brandon Ayuk, I'm glad we spent an entire summer just, absolutely like navel gaze, just like doing backflips over what's going to happen with this guy and his contract. And, it's just.
To be fair, he tore his knee real bad.
No, I know. I'm just saying these.
You hated that more than anyone on earth.
I just hated it. You know why I hated it? Because it was a foregone conclusion that he was going to sign back there. No questions asked. What happens? Same thing with TJ Watt. I think right after that, it's just every single time. This is what we do, and that's always how it ends. And sometimes it's just ink for it's just digital ink that's going to disappear into the ether for no reason.
Some value in that draft. Darnell Mooney in the 5th round. Juwan Jennings in the 7th.
I like Juwan Jennings a lot.
I love him.
I was high on him.
Ruggs just got moved to a higher security prison.
I thought he was like on track to get out in a couple of years.
I don't know. That was the headline today.
The craziest Las Vegas Raiders player to get arrested for doing crazy things is no one talks about Damon Arnett. The reason Damon Arnett is like among many not in the NFL is because he sent someone a picture of like a semi-auto gun that had a fucking grenade launcher on it. There was a grenade launcher on his gun. He literally had a COD grenade launcher and was like, pull up, find out what happens. It was a grenade launcher. No one talks about that.
He might have needed it for hunting or something. He
might have needed it for remodeling.
You never want 5 paragraphs in your legal issues section on your Wikipedia, which is what Damon Arnett has.
Especially, it's like we're really going to go with like the noob tube. We can't be more of a professional there. Damon Arnett. Yeah, that was a weird Gruden and Mayock running the show there. And I guess it was Vegas, it's just starting out in Vegas there. I think they got Farrell at 4th overall. That didn't work out. Just a tough run there.
I loved the Farrell pick. I was like, fuck everybody. Farrell can do it. Yeah. Farrell's physical. I loved that pick.
Too bad. They bucked.
I'd forgotten about Damon Arnett.
Yeah.
Insane. He was doing the craziest stuff with guns and whatever the hell else he was doing. Had the red braids too. Those were kind of cool.
I think that was Chandler Jones had his episodes there too. I think that was weird time.
Turns out Vegas, not a great place to give 21-year-olds $18 million signing bonuses.
Yeah.
Damon Arnett. Sometimes Wikipedia has great unintentional comedy. Personal life. Arnett has 3 children, 2 daughters and a son. He's also a rapper under the stage name NWG Suave. Thank you, Wikipedia. Then that's it. Appreciate that.
Oh, Lord.
Yeah, right. Chandler Jones did have some stuff, and that's an interesting family in retrospect. Obviously, R.I.P. Arthur Jones, and then John Jones, I'm not that we need to go deep into that stuff, but that just you saying his name, that is a fascinating sports family right there.
Yeah, I mean,
Just in general.
great athletes, and a lot going on there with all three of them. You know,
Yeah.
rest in
Super
peace to
Bowl
Hart.
champion, what, 2-time? Did he win heavyweight champion?
Yeah, I
too?
mean, he's the best. He's the
Light
best
heavy
mixed martial
and
artist
heavy?
of all time, arguably. Yeah,
Did he win heavy and light heavy?
yeah. He technically gave up the heavyweight championship recently because he just wouldn't fight. Now he might, to Tom Aspinall now.
And then, I mean, what? Chandler Jones had what? 110 sacks.
He was amazing in New England for a long time.
So good.
He was an awesome player. Like an awesome.
So good.
Awesome
He was he was like Suggs against the run too. He was a damn good run defender.
He's got 112 sacks in his career.
Damn, I nailed that.
Yeah, all decade team, 2-time first team All Pro. Great career.
Baller. Absolute baller. Shout out to the Joneses.
Indeed.
Shout out to Dre Jones. Balling today.
Yeah, there you go. To bring it all the way back.
Keeping up with the Joneses.
Keeping
All right,
up.
boys. Anything else?
Go Fins and Fins up.
Pete Alonso.
The Ravens have not given up a point in the Pete Alonso era.
That's massive.
Well
and then,
said.
the polar bears, they like that cold weather. I'll tell you what.
Yeah, let's do a montage at Ravens PR, at Ravens AV. Let's get Pete Alonso wearing some sort of Mr. Freeze freaking outfit, waving a bat around or something. Let's get that going.
I'll tell you what, I've been over the moon with that signing, and for a lot of reasons. I think one of them being that is absolutely a guy that's going to be embracing the team across the street. You love it when you sign a player or draft a player that's like immediately all over, like rooting for the other team that's in the town. I think Pete's going to be one of those guys. Albernaz already doing it too. It's great.
Can we Can we use AI to montage Pete Alonso to being the Bear Jew in the snow for the Ravens? Did you see that Disney's also going like full AI too? The world's over.
Yeah, did a deal with Sora. Those are Jake's hitters.
Yeah, those are my guys.
Open AI. Yeah.
I think, Sam Altman, one of the, just one of the more morally upstanding people in our world, just making the world a better place, as Erlich Bachman would say. I feel like that's more Spenny's corner, though.
That's my neck of the woods now, boys.
Okay. That all we got?
I think that's all we got. Great win.
Great win.
Jake's like, how do I bring this show to an end?
Yeah, it's like you throw it out there. You throw it out there to kind of just calm things down, and then you just get a tidal wave coming back at you. You're just managing a bunch of different things. But here we are, ready to end it. Thank you, everyone, for hanging with us here in the comments. If you liked what you heard, subscribe to us here on YouTube. Give us a like. Give us a comment. You can find us on the social media at Exit 52 Podcast on X. And on Instagram, you can also find us on X. I am at Jake Louque. That is Louque. Spenny at Ravens 4 Dummies. That is the number 4. Brian at Barstool Banks. Taylor at Taylor Smyth 10. And Eric at EDITTI 22. Great win. A lot of fun. We'll talk to you guys later in the week to break down Ravens Pats. But until then, have yourselves a good one and stay warm.
See ya.
That's good.